Welcome to Taboo Talks, a body electric conversation series where we talk all things taboo, whether it's the intersection between religion and spirituality. Yes, there is one. There are many. Intergenerational relationships, that is a mouthful. Fetishes, kink, or whatever else you're into. This is the place where we will discuss it. This is the first of many taboo talks, taboo conversations to come, and we're looking forward to diving into this one today. It's very fitting. So, your first body electric experience is today's taboo topic. And what is more taboo than that? I want to start with Orinda, your first body electric experience. How'd you feel going in, and how'd you feel coming out?
Well, my first BE experience was about 4 years ago. So it was just at the very end of COVID when we were just allowed to start meeting again. And there was a whole bunch of COVID testing, and there was that anxiety on top of everything else as well. And then, meeting all these other people, some of them looked like quite fun, and other ones were quite nervous. This wasn't my first time in a sex positive event, so I was very much looking forward to going forward with it. And I really had a great time. I was a little nervous, but not a lot nervous, and and just left feeling totally connected to the sacredness of life, really. That was my takeaway on how sacred my life force was, and how sacred everyone else's life force is as well, and the connection between sexual energy and your life force like that. That was my takeaway. It was so exciting, and I was looking for more.
And you kept coming back.
Yeah, I most certainly have. To the fact that I thought that the work that Body Electric was doing is so important. I started as a volunteer to help, and an ambassador, which is one of the ways in. And now I'm here all the time.
Here you are, all the way in, all the time.
Yeah, can't get further.
I love it. And Tom, what about you? Tell us about. I'm really excited to hear about this, actually. So yeah, tell us about your first body electric experience.
Well, a lot of people find out about body electric in different ways, and for me, it was something that I sought out. I was having a conversation with my husband about the healing power of sex, and which Body Electric talks about the healing power of Eros. And so we started researching and looking for places that would be discussing this. And we happened to come across a Body Electric workshop that was in our state, which was quite unusual because that was Oklahoma, and you don't normally expect to see sex positive events in Oklahoma. And we went, and when I was going, so I was of two minds. I was, part of me was like really excited to be exploring this thing that we'd been talking about. And another part of me was like, I'm going to be going through this unknown event. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. And, there's going to be a bunch of people I don't know. Only one person that I do know. And I had that trepidation of going. But one of the nice things about Body Electric is there's that conversation you have with the coordinator. And so when in the room, and there he was and greeted us, and you instantly start to feel like, okay, this is going to be all right. And then the weekend happens. It goes by so quickly, even though every second seems to be so full. And then I ended up leaving feeling so transformed and liberated. That was my big feeling afterwards.
I love that word. I love that word. And it sounds like we love that word so much that we named a podcast after it, our Erotic Liberation podcast. That was a shameless plug. Yeah, so for me, when I think about my first body electric experience, it's interesting how I found my way to it, because I had opened an email, jumped on a Zoom call, a town hall. There were a series of conversations that happened, I think just a few. And within short time, I was working with the school, which was shocking because it wasn't on my radar, to be honest, other than the emails I was receiving. And then in an operations meeting, I had mentioned interest in attending an all genders workshop, and I was promptly signed up for one. I was like, okay, so this is happening, and honestly, gratefully signed up for it as well. There was room for little hesitation on my part. What came up leading up to the experience was that there was a lot of, you used the word trepidation, and that was my experience as well, was, that the thoughts I was having, and this is not at all what I experienced, but I thought, oh no, like I'm riding a ferry to this island in Vancouver. I live in Vancouver, or outside of Vancouver, but in BC. And I'm going to this event, and I'm meeting all these people for the first time. Is this a cult? Like, what is this? Like, I know that sounds wild to say, especially because now I've gone, but all the crazy things one could think of, I thought of. And it's not at all what I experienced when I showed up. When I showed up, I learned so much. I mean, to this day, I still find myself more educated on the female genitalia than most of my cisgendered heterosexual male counterparts, and it's fascinating. Like, women are like, oh my gosh, you know so much. And I'm gay for all intents and purposes. So, I mean, that's just one of many things that I took from that experience. Another was to see how when you come into a room and an experience like celebrating the body erotic workshop, what it does very quickly is it removes all of the layers of conditioning, mental, emotional conditioning, that create barriers to love and connection and intimacy and eroticism with another person. And suddenly you're in love with a room full of people at the end of the weekend. And it's just so remarkable. So, anyone who's on the fence, I mean, get off. Pun intended. Pun intended.
As I say that as a pansexual person, that going to an all genders event is really my favorite too, because knowing there's no pairing me with someone because of their genitals. That's not how I pick my partners. That's not how I live my life. So I love being at the all genders events because I just get partnered with whoever I'm supposed to be partnered with, and it's not even a consideration. Like, we don't line up the boys on this side and the girls on that side. There's none of that, and I really, really appreciated that at my all genders events that I go to. Yeah.
Yeah, that was also my favorite part, I would say, or one of my favorite parts of it was the mastery with which these experiences were facilitated and coordinated to ensure that everyone experienced the same, like, electricity that these workshops offer, is beautiful. and transformation and healing, etc., etc. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's what sets Body Electric apart from a lot of places is, I remember my thought at my first CBE, which was an all men's CBE, was how do they get so many people on their team? I mean, it was the facilitator, the coordinator, and I think there were 2 other assistants in the room, and that you really feel supported and held by that team as you're going through this weekend of exploration and change, and that's a big difference. And you talked about expert facilitation. I mean, the faculty of Body Electric, most of them have been studying different modalities of sex positive work, but when they come to Body Electric, they train for 2 years to actually become a faculty member, and and then there's ongoing training. It's not just like, oh, I led a yoga class once and I'm ready to teach Body Electric. Nothing wrong with teaching a yoga class; it's beautiful, but there is a lot that you hold when you're a facilitator of this kind of work. And these folks do it, and they do it well.
I'm going to say there's a lot on being, like, I've been an assistant at a few of these, and there's a lot of work that the assistants do as well. Like, I understand how much the facilitators do, but it's not anyone off the street that can show up to one of these things and hold space and not go into their own stuff too. Like even the team that's supporting the facilitator have done a lot of work to get there, or that's been my experience anyway.
Hearing you both talk about this makes me want to sign up for one right away. And I'm not just saying that. I'm having all these flashbacks to my first experiences, and I'm like, oh, I got to get into another workshop like right away. Yeah. And I hope those of you who are listening and watching right now are feeling similarly, or at least curious, about what we're up to at the school. And my invitation for you would be to stay tuned for future episodes of in our Taboo Talks series, and to also visit our website www.bodyelectric.org to learn more and to register for one of our upcoming workshops. We have both online and offline workshops, and we also have some free workshops that help you ease into the work and figure out the correct educational and transformational trajectory for you. So until next time, thank you for joining us on our first of many Taboo Talks to come.